Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the year, Humanitarian Horizons. Christina DiArcangelo unveiled. Well, this year is starting off with a bang. Let me tell you, in all the years that I've been podcasting, I have never had to state a disclaimer. I never felt as though it was necessary. But given what I've been seeing out there in the space, as far as podcasters are concerned, I thought it was a good idea for me to at least make a disclaimer for today. So, this one's going to be a juicy one if I'm going to give you a disclaimer. The following commentary reflects personal opinion and media analysis. It does not assert undisputed facts, allege criminal conduct, or present claims as proven. All individuals referenced are discussed in the context of public commentary, protected speech, and ongoing public discourse. Listeners are encouraged to conduct their own research and fact checking and form independent conclusions. All right, you ready to get started? I'm ready. Somewhere along the way, asking questions stopped being a sign of intelligence and started being treated like a threat. Not because questions are dangerous, but because they challenge power, comfort, narratives people are told not to question. Today, questioning the government, messaging, media consensus, or institutional decision making doesn't lead to discussion. Oh, no, not at all. No discussion. It leads to character assassination, attacks, potentially being dismissed as being crazy, irresponsible, or labeled as a conspiracy theorist before anyone engages with what you actually said. That should concern every single one of us. Public commentaries like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and others are frequently targeted not because they are universally right, but because they are willing to question narratives many people would rather accept without scrutiny. Whether you agree with them is irrelevant. The issue is not about agreement. The issue is whether questioning itself, so the act of questioning itself, is still allowed. That sounds like a a twister. I can't even talk today. I apologize. So, in other words, asking questions is that allowed? Are we allowed to ask questions? Because we've reached a moment where skepticism is treated as extremism. So when you're skeptical about something, you're labeled as extreme. Where disagreement is framed as danger, where people are encouraged not to think critically, but to defer, to trust that someone else has already decided what is true. So someone else has decided what is true, and you're supposed to listen to that. Okay. History tells us this is never how truth survives. Progress has never come from silence or blind trust. Civil rights did not advance because everyone complied. Government accountability did not improve because citizens stopped asking questions. Transparency has always been the result of pressure, skepticism, and people refusing to accept because we said so as an answer. We're not children, okay? As a mother, you all know I have a child. And I remember when my son was little and you would be doing something and he would say, well, why can't I do that? Because I said so. Okay. Are we going all the way back to when we're children and we're going to accept answers like, because we said so? Yeah, today, instead of responding to questions with evidence, we respond with insults. Instead of a healthy debate, which is what I'm used to doing, we see deplatforming. Instead of discussion, we see threats, legal, professional, and social, designed to intimidate people. into silence. The COVID era exposed this dynamic clearly. I don't hear any of the other podcasters talking about this, so I wanted to talk about it. Many people followed the government guidance without question, believing compliance equaled responsibility. Others raised concerns not to cause chaos, but to understand risk, timelines, data, and the decision making process. What was alarming wasn't the disagreement, it was how disagreement was treated. Asking questions about policy, science, or the speed of implementation was often framed as moral failure rather than intellectual inquiry. And when questioning becomes taboo, trust doesn't grow, it erodes. Blind trust is not the same thing as informed consent. This is important. This is really important to mention. This is not informed consent. Free speech was never meant to protect only popular opinions. The Constitution doesn't exist to shield authority from discomfort. It exists to ensure power can be questioned without retaliation. Free speech does not mean everyone is correct. It means everyone is allowed to ask. And yet, we increasingly see people threatened with lawsuits, reputational destruction, and professional consequences simply for expressing dissenting views. Instead of addressing ideas, we try to silence the people expressing them. That is not strength. That is fragility. That is, in my opinion, bullying to its largest extreme. Suppressing questions doesn't eliminate doubt, it multiplies it. Silencing voices does not create unity. It deepens division. And labeling people instead of engaging ideas doesn't protect truth. It protects the narratives. You don't have to agree with every public figure, journalist, or commentator. Agreement is not the measure of a healthy society. The measure is whether we can tolerate disagreement without resorting to intimidation, ridicule, or censorship. When questioning becomes more dangerous than getting things wrong, something has deeply gone off course. This isn't something about left versus right as it relates to politics. Honestly, it's not about that. It's about whether critical thinking still has a place in public discourse. It's about whether we value curiosity or punish it. It's about whether or not we want a society built on dialogue or one built on fear of saying the wrong thing. The most dangerous idea is not skepticism. The most dangerous idea is the belief that authority should not be questioned. Because once questioning stops, accountability disappears. And when accountability disappears, power no longer needs to justify itself. The real question isn't whether certain voices make us uncomfortable. The real question is why discomfort has become something we're so desperate to avoid. Truth has never required silence, and it has never needed protection from questions, because a society that cannot tolerate questions will never be prepared for answers. I hope I gave you something to ponder about today, because this is something that I have been paying very, very, very close attention to. The last few podcasts that I've had, I've talked about a lot of different things, a lot of things being societal. You know how I felt about some of the things that happened when Charlie Kirk died, the fact that, what happened, period, with him, and the fact that he was assassinated, in my opinion, because of his views, because he actively shared them. What is wrong with society? Why is that okay? So I'm not going to go into a bash today. This is just something that I've been watching and noticing, and I just wanted to bring it up. I wanted to talk about it for my listeners and viewers because I wonder what your opinions are. I look forward to your comments. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, this was Humanitarian Horizons, Christina DiArcangelo Unveiled. I'll see you again soon. Ta ta for now.